to breathe. Tiff got heat, Punisher on the screen. 2 versus 1, talk tough, talk real. Hit the point fast, then cut to the deal. They laugh, they bite, they don't play safe. Every little story got a sharp edge taste. Coffee gone cold, but the takes stay hot. You lean in close when they hit that spot. Say it loud, say it clear. We came for the truth in the atmosphere. No filler talk, just a raw reply. One more question, watch it fly. Tiff and the Punisher. Say it again. Tiff and the Punisher. They cut to the end. Tiff and the Punisher. Keep it 100. Tiff and the Punisher. Yeah, that's the front row. Yeah, that's the front row. Yeah, 1 minute jokes, next minute truths. Every answer lands with a little bruise. They pull the thread, let the whole thing show. What was tucked away now, everybody know. From wild debates to the little details. Every back and forth got a story to tell. You want that spark, you want that bite. Turn it up once, stay up all night. Oh, say it loud, say it clear. We came for the truth in the atmosphere. No filler talk, just a raw reply. One more question, watch it fly. Tiff and the Punisher. Say it again. Tiff and the Punisher. They cut to the end. Tiff and the Punisher. Keep it 100. Tiff and the Punisher. Yeah, that's the front row. Yeah, that's the front row. When the room gets tense, they don't back off. One hard truth and the whole thing pops. And a quick little laugh, let the tension drop. And right back in when the next beat stops. Tiff and the Punisher. Say it again. Tiff and the Punisher. They cut to the end. Tiff and the Punisher. Keep it 100. Tiff and the Punisher. Yeah, that's the front row.
They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say. For those who have been isolated, don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallets. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come, we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeves. You can't do what you're trying to do. We have done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You will no longer will steal our kids this way. Tiff! Tiff and the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She's tired of our kids being taken. God damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher screaming out loud about to CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids' pictures held up by Tiff Tac. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with hot speed. We will do so much being together. The birds of a feather flock together. So watch out, CPS, here we come. Picking you off one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. So give us back the kids you have taken. Sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows and the only games you play are on Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher warrior. And we cry out to all you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. Our children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping.
Right there, all right. Let's fuck changes.
What's up, Tiff? Here we are.
Not
We
much.
got a hell of a
What's
show
going on?
today. All right, Chris, good luck at court tomorrow at 4. I'm still waiting to hear from Dr. Fowler. Dr. Fowler is supposed to have court today, and I'm waiting to hear from her and see how her day went. But guys, we got a hell of a guest right here. They've had to leave our country because of the threats and everything that they've uncovered. This person has done a lot of work. It's done his due diligence to expose. Right now, we all talk about corruption, but the corruption on the magnitude of where does this money come from, where does it go, and how does it get around? And our guest tonight, he definitely has answers for that. Tiff, I don't know if you want to pop out anything and say anything before we get this thing going, but I know this guy's on limited time here, so let's get out of here. Let's hear him. Let's hear what he has to say. This is Mr. Daniel Robinson, guys. So let's hear what Mr. Robinson has to say.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Good. So where do we even begin with you? I don't know where we're supposed to start, stop, in the middle, or what's a good starting point for us? So maybe you tell us a little bit about you. How about that? How about we start there?
You know, the short version of it is I'm just like the rest of you. I've been abused and used by the court system, and I received threats against my life and against my children's life, and I was told I was going to be thrown in a volcano and used as shark bait, and I was gang stalked just like everybody else. The difference was I've been doing investigations on this fraud, and not just the court system, but the fraud around the world for about 20 years. So when I went to divorce court, I knew exactly what I was up against, and I built a case against the court itself and against the judges, against the politicians, against the bankers. And I took my case to the U.S. Supreme Court twice. And when I filed my second case, they had people come to me, friends of the system, and let me know that if I didn't file my second Supreme Court case exposing a lot of this fraud, that they would give me everything I wanted, that they would arrest my ex-wife. The prosecuting attorneys actually took up charges against her, that they would give me my kids 100% physical and legal custody, and they would let me open up my own nonprofit organization. But I knew that if I took that deal, I'd be selling my soul and my children's future. And so I filed my second.
Devil, right?
Yeah, I deal with the devil. So I filed my second U.S. Supreme Court case, and within a couple of weeks after doing that, I had a restraining order filed against me, and based on nothing as usual. And I went into court and they dragged me across the courtroom half naked, essentially, and tried to put me in my place and teach me my lesson. So I walked out of the courtroom and I left the country knowing that once they got violent, they were just going to get more and more violent and they were going to follow through on the threats against my life. And so for the past year and a half, I've been in South America, hiding in the Amazon rainforest, gathering more evidence and putting together the evidence that I have and presenting the case to the best of my ability to people around the world.
In the rainforest, oh, that's crazy. Who were the people that were threatening you, and what were the threats who were they, and for what reasons? Because of the exposure that you had, because of what you knew that they didn't want you to know? What's the deal with them and their threats to you?
All of the above. So people that worked for the court system, the nonprofit organizations that I was slowly building my case with, they kept telling me that I was going to be murdered like Nancy Schaefer, and that I was going to be thrown in a volcano, and that my kids were going to be sent to foster care and raped and murdered if I presented my evidence or if I kept going. It just, on a almost weekly basis, I was getting threats against my life. I was having people stop by my house, which I lived on a very busy street, and they would come to a full stop in front of my house and start pointing at me like they were going to shoot me. Right. And people pointing lasers at me in the middle of the night, and people stalking me around. I was living in Hawaii at the time, but people stalking me and my children when I was alone with them, following me to the beach or following me to parks. It was just, a lot. And right. So I knew that once they did all that, plus then they started getting violent with me in the court system, dragging me across the courtroom, I knew that it was time to escape. So I left the country and I went to Colombia, and I registered as a refugee with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Yep. And I've been trying to gain international attention for our cause, trying to find people to work with within the United Nations and human rights groups on an international level for the past year, with little success here and there.
Right. But because everybody's hands in the pie.
Yeah, everybody's hands in the pot. I mean, it's a worldwide, global fraud system, and the family court is just one small cog in the wheel.
Right. What was the first piece of information that you knew when you got that piece of information and found something out? What was the piece of information that you got that made everybody start paying attention to what you were saying?
Well, when my ex-wife filed the first restraining order against me, which was falsified and which I was found innocent of, I took it to trial. I was found to be a fit parent, and found to be innocent of any wrongdoing. During that trial, I looked up the judge, and I found her on the board of directors of a local nonprofit that hired gals to work with children and take them away from their parents. And so if you Google my name, Daniel Robinson, and Hawaii, you'll find an article about me in the Civil Beat news article about me discovering this judge on this board. And the judge was reprimanded, and the judge was forced to put letters in all the cases she had been in, stating that she was a part of this organization. And I received a letter from the judicial conduct saying that the matter was resolved. And so from that point, they really started coming after me and talking to me. Wow. And that was about 6 months after my original divorce.
Wow. And they were threatening, to throw your kids into foster care custody and all of that, right?
Yeah, I was told that that I would be, because I was living in Hawaii at the time, I was told that I would be thrown into the volcano, and then my kids would be put in foster care and raped and abused, and murdered.
Throwing you in the volcano was a real threat. That wasn't just somebody. That wasn't just like a little ha-ha because you were in Hawaii. That was a real legit threat.
To me, it was. I mean, I've been receiving threats for the past 3 years since I've been exposing this fraud. Right. I mean, I've just recently I went on Facebook, and the state senator in Hawaii who controls is the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee that controls all the funding for essentially all the nonprofit organizations that work with the courts, I let her know and let all her people know that support her, that if they support her, that they're supporting child abuse. And she went on 2 different newspapers and threatened to have me arrested for exercising my First Amendment rights to tell the truth and expose her. So there's in Big Island News Now and in West Hawaii Today, you can see 2 articles about Hawaii State Senator Joyce San Buenaventura threatening to have me arrested for exercising my First Amendment right.
All right, I want to read. This is from I'm reading right now the your petition for your writ of certiorari, and this is what I want everybody to hear. What this says here. It says, by the time you read this petition, the applicant, who is mentally incompetent, man per 18 USC 922, and is incapable of being criminally prosecuted, and a fit father per Hawaii Revised Statutes 57146 per Hawaii Family Court Judge Jeffrey NG plans to follow in the footsteps of the refugees he has cared for in the third world countries and illegally crossed the border into the North Korea, and asked North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un to contact President Trump as a final act of love for his children and act of protest against the U.S. Supreme Court. The American family court system, and more specifically, the corruption of Hawaii state officers and its family court system. Why? Because North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un has more mercy on his people than any of the above American judicial systems. And the applicant will appeal to him and beg for mercy for him to contact President Trump and other federal officials made a party to this case on his behalf to fight for his family's civil, disability, federal, and constitutional rights, expose the corruption of these courts, since this court refuses to do its job and uphold their oaths of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. I mean, that's some pretty powerful stuff right there.
Yeah, no, I am. There's a lot of stuff right there. Technically, I am mentally incompetent. I was committed to a mental institution when I was 20 years old. And according to the federal government, I am a mentally incompetent man. It's true. I, however, then spent 25 years after that doing research on the system and finding out where all the money went and discovering all the fraud, and brought me to this point. The second thing, me going to North Korea, I actually went to the border of North Korea. I'm not going to say that I crossed the border into North Korea because that would be illegal, and I'm not going to admit to something illegal on a live stream or on a YouTube.
Right.
But I essentially was showing the corrupt court system and the powers that be that if they didn't do their job, that I had the capability to expose their corruption on an international level and hold them accountable in ways that they had never been held accountable before. And that's what I'm doing now. I gave them an opportunity to do the right thing and give me my kids and follow the law, because my ex-wife, she's committed 17 different felonies. And they refused to do it. Instead of following the law, I came back from China and they took my kids away and dragged me across the courtroom half naked and tried to teach me a lesson, which obviously backfired.
Right. I got to point out these questions that you ask here. It says, and this court has done nothing but violate his rights, just like Hawaii state officers, and allow Hawaii state officers to violate criminal law without any recourse, repercussions, or oversight. So you ask this question. Under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution of the United States, Article 6, Clause 2, do federal agencies have to follow executive orders from the President of the United States? And then the second question is, under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution of the United States, Article 6, Clause 2, do states who receive federal grant funding have to follow federal and constitutional law per those laws in the Constitution? And then you go on and you make more, you ask more questions pertaining to the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, and all that. And then this goes down to this one here. If states uses parents patriae or the public good as a reason to violate these civil, disability, federal, and constitutional laws, doesn't that same parents patriae include the good of the whole country and not just the good of a single state and its state officers?
Correct. So what you're seeing right now, what I was trying to do in that Supreme Court case, my petition was asked the questions: do the states have to follow federal law? Which is obviously
Right.
yes, they do. Do the states have to follow the laws like the Child Abuse Prevention Treatment Act that they institute in order to receive billions and billions of dollars in federal funding? Which technically, according to the law, they do. However, they in practice do not. And so I was trying to show that they were breaking the law, and
Right.
it was a preamble to me exposing the fraud of what I'm doing now, coming on the show and exposing the community foundations. I was trying to give them a chance to do the right thing before I started exposing them on a large scale.
Right. Which brings us to that now. Where do we even begin with the corruption, and who's funding this, and where it starts? Where's the bottom rung? Or do you want to start with the head of the snake, or do you want to start at the ground level?
You know, let's just talk about the ground level, because that's what's affecting most of the people across the country, right?
Okay.
So essentially the family court system is one giant pipeline of money for the banks,
Right.
which is why they keep taking our houses, taking our money through child support, forcing us to pay ridiculous fees for nonprofit organizations that they control, that eventually goes back into the nonprofit organizations that they get benefits from. And so what it comes down to is there's I don't want to call it a deep state and sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but
Right.
there is a different type of government behind the government called community foundations. And so these community foundations, there's approximately 1,100 of them across the country.
Mhm.
And there's like one for each major state, or one for each small state. There's as many as 30 or 40 for a big state like California. There's one for every major city. And these community foundations, they're multi-billion-dollar trust funds. And
Right.
so if you look at these trust funds, the board of directors of every single one of these trust funds is the CEOs of the largest banks in each city and in each state. And these trust funds, they each have between 1,000 and sometimes 2,000 or 3,000 nonprofit organizations. And they're using those nonprofit organizations in order to violate our rights, and in order to steal our children, and in order to take our money, our homes, and our lives.
Right.
And so in Hawaii, where I come from, there's an organization called the Hawaii Community Foundation Trust. And if you look at that board of directors of that foundation, it's the three CEOs of the three largest banks in Hawaii. Now, they control 1,100 different nonprofit organizations, and through those 1,100 different nonprofit organizations, they get politicians elected, they get judges elected, they create laws that are violating our rights, and they control the nonprofit organizations such as the domestic violence organizations, or the psychiatrists or the psychologists that do psyche evals, or the child custody evaluators. They control all those different nonprofit organizations and people in order to drain us of our finances, and then essentially funnel it back to these banks that these CEOs of these community foundation trusts control. Which sounds crazy, but it's true if you follow the money, which I've
No, of
done.
course. This doesn't sound crazy at all. I mean, we talk about this all the time, and we also have we have a multitude of people. But are you a firm believer in the straw man, the straw man concept, the trust? Like, is that what you're talking about when you're dealing in the trust and Social Security and all that? Like that we're supposed, we're an entity, the government sells us off as pretty much puts us out on the trading market when we're born. Is that what you're talking about there, or is this a whole different level?
This is something completely different.
Okay.
I've not researched that at all. I've tried to stick to the facts that I can prove.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that that's not provable, and I'm not saying that that's not true, but
Right.
that's just something I haven't researched.
Right.
Everything I'm telling you, I can prove using tax documents. I can prove using SEC filings. I can prove using the community foundations and the nonprofit organizations' own literature and their own websites and their own social fundraising networks.
So
So
who's the?
everything, huh? Go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just going to say what you're saying with the tax straw man thing, that may be true or may not be true. I can't speak to that. I'm trying to stick to the facts that I can actually prove on paper.
Right. No, what I was trying to do was separate that. That's what I was trying to do was I wanted people to understand that you're talking about something completely different. I know that you don't believe in the strawman stuff, or not. You not don't believe in it, but I know that you don't study that. I just wanted to point out the fact that this is something completely different because so many people, when they hear the trust fund and they hear all of this stuff, when they start going into it, start to fold into that strawman theory and the sovereign citizens thing and all of that. And this is something that I don't want this to go to. I don't want this to travel in that direction. And I want people to know
Yeah. So I mean,
that by investigation and information on your own.
yeah, and so for the past 3 years, I mean, I've been pulled in many different directions with the many different groups that we are all part of. As far as that stuff and people thinking that I'm a sovereign citizen, which I'm not a sovereign citizen. I believe wholeheartedly in our Constitution and in our country, and I'm trying to save it from people who are trying to destroy it.
Right.
I've been pulled in 1,000 different directions, just like everybody, but I've stuck to the facts that I can actually prove, stuff that I can
Right.
show you on paper through tax documents, through SEC filings, through these organizations' various social fundraising networks. I mean, stuff that I can actually prove in a court of law if I was called
Right.
into a court of law to prove it.
Right. That's good stuff. So let's get to it, man. Who's the ground level bottom of this? Who's the one that we all know that everybody thinks is their friend and is absolutely not?
As far as
these local nonprofit groups, where's the one that's really who's the one that really is pulling the wool over everybody's eyes here? Number one.
well, I mean, it's really it's the court system is the bottom, right? So
Right.
I mean, the judges, the lawyers, the gals, the psychologists, they're all just cogs in the wheel. I mean, they're all just actors who are playing a part. If you follow the money all the way to the top, you're going to come back to those community foundations that are controlling all of them in order to rob us of our rights and our money and our children and turn us into slaves so that way they can make as much money off of us as possible. The thing that I think most people get distracted on is they focus on one person, like the judge, or they focus on the CPS system, which is all verifiably good. I mean, we do need to focus on the judges and exposing the corrupt judges. And we do need to focus on CPS for sure, 100%. They are crooked in so many forms. And we do need to focus on the gals who are making money off of us. But I think we need to move past all of that and look at the bigger picture and look at the bottom line, which is all of them are just funneling money into a bigger system that is turning us into slaves. And so we can go after a single jail, legally speaking, a single judge, legally speaking, but that single judge is just, one of, 20,000 across the country. It's not going to do any good to go after a single judge. Or we can, expose the corruption of a single gal or a single lawyer, but then I are missing the point that they are just they're one player, out of millions across the country. I think we as a group need to start focusing on the money behind all this. We need to start defunding the programs that are funding these people. Start defunding the nonprofit organizations that are allowing this to happen, which is what I've been doing. So for the past 2 years, I've been sending off mass emails to 300 of like the most powerful people in the world exposing all this stuff. So a lot of what you're seeing on the news with Donald Trump, I've been exposing to the federal government and the DOJ for the past 2.5 years. Something I don't know if I should say is technically I'm a witness for the FBI right now.
Right.
Technically, I'm helping expose that fraud that you're seeing on the news. And it all comes back to the money and the banks and the larger system that is directing all these actors to violate our rights.
Right. And that's what they are doing, in fact, and people don't understand that. And the problem is that people don't understand that until it happens to them. So there's the problem, is that this is a rogue beast that's just sweeping through our nation, but no one pays attention to it until it happens to them. Otherwise, they don't really care two shits about it. You know?
Yeah, well, everybody, I mean, the one thing I've been to like 60 or 70 countries. I've been traveling the world for almost 5 years on and off. And the one thing I've found is, you know, people just want to be happy and they just want to take care of their families and they just want to be loved. And, you know, that's, yeah, I mean, that's life. And I understand that. But I mean, when 30 million Americans are being taken advantage of and being sold on a bigger market, you know, to bankers, essentially.
How many families
that
do you
becomes,
say How many families?
well, I mean, there's 30 million Americans that are involved in the family court system one way or the other, right?
Right.
Including foster care, the family court system.
Is that 30 million that you're quoting? Is that 30 million that you're quoting is in total, or is that a yearly number, or is that, what is that number that you just came up with, the 30 million? Is that, you know, it was in the United States, or
I think that's total people in the system one way or the other at any given time, or who have been in the system recently.
Okay. So we know that there's potentially way more than that are being effective. That are being effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. That doesn't include all the peripherals, right? That doesn't include all their family members. That doesn't include all the, you know, the toll that it's taking on their jobs. It doesn't include the social toll that it's taking on, you know, society as a whole. That's just people that are actually involved in the system one way or the other.
Right. Got you. No, that's this. I mean, we know in CPS, for instance, is just 7 million families a year without their peripherals, like you say, are affected. I mean, so that number is potentially, if you look over a 10 million over a 10-year period, you have over 100 million people affected just by the touch of CPS. So just to improve in the whole family court system, I mean, over 10 years, that's got to be Jesus Almighty. If your number is 30 million, I mean, Jesus, we must have almost everybody in this country has been affected by CPS or the family court system in one way or the other.
Absolutely. I mean, at one point or another, I mean, they're all touched by it in one way or another. They know somebody, or they hear of somebody, or they know the stories. I mean, it's a cancer on our society.
It really is. Court system. Yeah. I mean, there's no way it's not. If those numbers that you say are solid and true, there's no way that there's not, you know, 500 million people that are not affected by these systems. And to do that, you would have to have a huge wallet, an open-ended wallet. You know, just for the sheer numbers alone of 500 million people, let's just say it's $1 a person that's spent on their investigation. You know, that's $500 million, you know, so we know that it's way more than that. So what are the true numbers and the true numbers of people that are involved in all of this? I mean, the number is just out of this world.
Which is why I believe it's a human rights crisis, which is why I fled the country and I registered with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and started registering with other international organizations and started trying to bring international attention to this crisis. Because while it might not be as bad as some of the things that are happening in other countries where, you know, 100,000 people are being murdered in Nigeria right now, the difference being, in America, we have a Supreme Court, we have a Department of Justice, we have a Constitution that should be stopping all this. In other countries, they don't have those things, or they don't have the ability to put a stop to it because it's different systems, or they don't have the same Constitution, or they don't have the same, you know, same trillions of dollars that we bring in taxes as American citizens that could be used to fight this corruption and fight this cancer in our society.
Well,
But
it could be used to
if,
empower the people and be used to make their lives more efficient, more lucrative, more everything, make the family unit more solid. But instead, they're using it to remove the corner of our families, like removing us as the pillars. And that's just disgusting. I mean, they're spending more money than the Department of Defense, for God's sakes.
that, I don't know. But I mean, they're spending a ton of money, but they're
Right.
making a ton of money in return.
That's it. It's a revolving door, and everybody is in on it. Whether even there's so many people that are contributing to this that they don't even realize that they are.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The,
And so that's what I was told that you were sent 4 infographics that I recently created.
yes, sir. Yep.
And so
are we able to pull those up?
I recently created 4 infographics with another parental rights advocate who helped me using Chat GTP based on my knowledge that I've gained after spending 20 years studying corruption around the world. Yeah. And it shows you step by step how the different actors are involved, where they're involved, where the money's coming from, where the money's going to. And at the 4th infographic is a how do we fight back, which is a lot of the research I've done and how.
You want me to pull that graphic up?
Which one? Yeah, you can pull them up if you like.
You just mentioned the how to fight back one. You want me
No. The first infographic. If you pull that up, if you can.
Yeah, let me get it. I just found the second one here. Let me get the first one here.
And let me apologize for the bad lighting and the me hunched over. I'm in a South American country at a pharmacy using their Wi-Fi because I ran out of cash and I ran out of data, so I just had to run to the closest place to be able to do this interview.
No.
That's okay. I just have one question. Have you thought about taking this to the international courts?
I have. And so that's actually what I'm pushing for. So I'm pushing for this to be brought to international law enforcement's attention, because if you follow the infographics that I created, this is something that's actually a worldwide problem, and the family court system is just one small part of it. And so the people that are controlling the system at the very top are actually international players. And so I'm pushing for international law enforcement to get involved and start holding our American politicians and our American bankers and corrupt actors accountable and start opening cases. And I'm pushing for other international organizations like the United Nations to get involved as far as human rights go. The issue that other people have faced with that is that they say that, well, these organizations have no jurisdiction in the United States. And that was true in the past. But if these organizations start representing Americans like ourselves, then these organizations then have jurisdiction in the United States over American politicians and over American actors, because they're representing American citizens who have constitutional rights. And since our politicians and since our leaders are refusing to help us, and we are being forced to go to international bodies, and those constitutional rights we have can be exercised by the people who are representing us on an international level. So I would love to see the International Criminal Court get involved here. And I would love to see Interpol get involved with some of these larger banking institutions. And I would love to see a more worldwide movement to bring accountability to these American politicians who are refusing to get involved because they're lazy and corrupt.
Right. Now I got your graphic up here following the money here. It starts down at the bottom in the red there. It says the judge and family dependency. And then it goes up to, let me see here. Let me pull it up here. It goes up to, this is the second time there. Sorry. Then it goes up to the court actors, which you have the GALs, the court clerks, the lawyers, CPS caseworker, court reporters, and others. Then it goes to the nonprofits, which are the psychologists, the anger management, the parental evaluators, the abuse protection services, the drug diversions, and many more. And then the state funding goes to CPS budget, court grants, judge salaries and benefits, sheriff's departments, state programs and initiatives. Then to the federal funding, to Title IV, HHS, HUD, Department of Justice, sheriff's programs. Then number 5 you have here is university funding, the compliance and distribution hub. And then you want to explain that a little bit, the university funding and how that ties in?
So the universities, they're state organizations, right? Just like they're run by states, like the University of Hawaii or the University of North Carolina or the University of California. So these universities are what they call subrecipients. So the states create the laws, and then the universities, they actually have the committees where the funding committees for federal grants meet. And then the funding committees for these federal grants that go to the states, they meet at the universities, and then they are actually, the university itself is the one who receives the money from the federal government and then puts it in trust funds in the banks of these CEOs who run the community foundations at the top of the diamond.
Okay. Do we have any? Yeah, no, that makes great. But you say that there's multi-billion-dollar, this is community foundation trusts, 1,100 across the country, multi-billion-dollar organizations, at least one in every small state, one in every large state, 50 to 60 in large states like California, some with $16 billion plus under their control. Who's the biggest actor in this system that you see in every state?
Who's the biggest actor?
Yeah, who's the biggest, or not actor, I shouldn't say that. Who's the biggest player though, controlling this money and these trusts and everything?
It's the CEOs of each bank in each state or city.
All right, what bank are we talking about here that's the most, that you see the most movement out of?
Well, it's different. It's different from city to city and state to state, because each state and city has different banks, right?
Right.
But in Hawaii, it's the First Hawaiian Bank is the largest bank, and if you look at the top, the Hawaii Foundation Trust, the board of directors who runs that organization is the CEO of First Hawaiian Bank, as well as the 2 CEOs of the other 2 banks that are in Hawaii. And if you look at the community foundations across the country, it doesn't matter. Just, you can go to the Council on Foundations. It's a website. They're the organization above all these community foundations, and then go to their foundation locator. And you can type in your zip code, and they will show you whatever community foundation is in your city or in your state. And then look up the board of directors for that foundation in your city or in your state. And it's always the CEO of the largest bank in your city or in your state. So the people that are controlling all this, that are essentially violating our rights, are the bankers, who are using these nonprofit organizations to elect politicians and create laws and control the court system through various nonprofit organizations. So for me, the head of the snake in each local area around the country is the CEOs of these banks.
I see that. What was that website you just mentioned again to check out? You had said?
So I think it's so there's an organization called the Council on Foundations.
The Council on Foundations.
Okay. I think it's cof.org. And if you look at it, they'll tell you right on their website that they control something like 1,100 trust funds across the country. And if you do research on those organizations, they then control hundreds of thousands of nonprofit organizations across the country.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Did you want to look the next time? What's that, Tiff?
So if you go to the Council on Foundation website, you can look up the Council on Foundation locator and just type in your zip code, and it will pull up a map, and it will show you what foundation is in your city or in your state. And I guarantee you it's going to be $1 billion foundation. And I guarantee you it's going to be the CEOs of each bank or each major financial institution that run those foundations. And they in turn run the nonprofit organizations that run the courts and elect the politicians.
cof.org.
Yeah, I got it right here. It's right here. Share that instead, and then right here is that one.
I checked it out. It was pretty informing, that's for sure.
There, right there, right. This is the website you were talking about, correct?
Yeah. Yep, that's it. Go up to the top to the drop down, the 3 lines, I think it is. I was on my phone, so it's a little different. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, do you want to pull up? You want me to pull up that second diamond? Are you ready for that now?
You know, if you want to, we can go through all the diamonds, or we can just focus on the first and the last diamond.
Okay,
it's up to you how deep.
That's your choice, my man.
You know, it's your podcast, and there's some pretty damning information in those diamonds. And like I said, I've had my life threatened time and time again for, you know, exposing this information. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole, I'm more than willing to. I'd love to expose the truth all the way to the top.
Right. I mean, obviously,
if you want,
yeah. I mean, I have the second one here. Let's look at the second one then. Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, here we are. All right, so this is diamond number 2 that you've got here. Let me see if I can make it bigger for everybody here. Okay, as big as we can get it. Let me maximize it. There we go. All right, it kind of is difficult to see a little bit here. Let me see if I can do something with this.
So that's a schematic of exactly how the corruption is being done by the Council on Foundations.
Okay.
That shows step by step which laws they're breaking, how they're creating the organizations, the nonprofit organizations, and then how they're violating our rights, and then how they are in turn then collecting anywhere from, you know, $500,000 up to like $5 million per nonprofit organization when all the various funding channels are combined. And then they just repeat that 1,000 times and bring in as much as, you know, $500 million to, you know, a couple $1 billion per foundation that they then distribute to various political campaigns and various organizations to elect judges, elect politicians, and violate our rights and family court systems.
Wow. This is nuts. So at the top, you have the Community Foundation Trust, which is what we were just talking about. And then that goes down to the banks. Now you're saying here, wait a minute. So you're claiming here that this is how you can build the RICO case on this as well.
Absolutely, because it's the thing that I'm exposing, and the reason why even today people are saying we're praying for your safety, Daniel. And I mean, people are showing me, you know, videos of people getting murdered for doing what I'm doing just last night, because I'm exposing the people that are behind the screen, that actually are liable for everything they're doing. So the difference between what people have done in the past and what we could be doing and what we should be doing is going after these bankers and going after these community foundations, legally speaking, of course, because we've been fighting the court systems for family rights for 50 years and it hasn't worked. And that's because they have immunity, so to speak. But these bankers, these community foundations, they have no immunity whatsoever. They are completely and totally open to civil and criminal prosecution. It would be very easy to, if we could actually get some real lawyers who wanted to really help people, to put together the evidence in order to file a RICO case against the various CEOs and various banks for doing what they're doing, violating our rights.
So really the banks are kind of the Achilles heel in one way. Oh, sorry, Tiff, go ahead.
So this makes total sense to me now, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when here in Virginia, they'll say CPS and their stockholders. Well, when I asked who the hell the stockholders were, didn't nobody want to tell me. This is what I got. Oh, it's the community.
It's the community foundations. It's the
No, no,
banks
no, no,
that
no.
run them.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, but they want the people here to believe that the stockholders are the parents.
No,
Right.
yeah, that's just a front. That's just a lie to deflect from who the real stockholders are, which are the banks and the CEOs of the banks who are,
Correct.
instructing the courts to rob us blind of our faith, family, freedom, and money and houses and everything else.
Right. So
They actually have stockholders.
Of course they do. So Darren, I need all of this, all his little pictures and diagrams and all that, because I'm
Yeah,
going to
so
court
Tiff,
soon.
yeah, Tiff, tell him what you do.
So I do quite a few things. Like I am a constitutional advocate. I do fight CPS. I have taught people how to get their kids back through kinship care. But I also sit on the legislative body here in Virginia with a couple of lawyers and congressmen and senators and people. And we're really making some changes here. But again, when I ask who the stockholders are, they want to say that it's the community. And I knew that wasn't true. So now all this right here is making complete sense to me. Now I know who the hell the stockholders are.
The banks. Yeah.
Correct.
That's just craziness. That's just absolute craziness.
Which is why we can't make any changes as a group, no matter how hard we trying to sue the judges and the lawyers and the gals, because they have immunity, and that's the way the system is set up to protect the bankers behind the system.
Right, but the bankers are really the Achilles heel because they have no protections. So in essence, if you could really pick out your enemy, then if you can take them out, then you can take, because it's always about the money. Follow the sources of the money, and that's where
Absolutely.
where it is. So, but with them, we can attack them, full on attack these banks, and not have the protections that they're given, by the Supreme Courts and all of that. The immunities and everything.
Yeah, and they're going to settle. They'll settle with you. Their insurance will settle with you. And it will cost them. I mean, if we did this on a large scale, it would cost them billions and billions of dollars, maybe even like $100 billion across the country. Because I mean, if you put this all together, I'm showing you on a small scale.
Right.
But if you put this all together, this is happening in every city and in every state and in every county across the country. And if you put it all together, it's one massive RICO case. I mean, you could file small RICO cases just in like Hawaii with like the Hawaii Community Foundation that I'm having trouble with. But if you put it all together on a larger scale, which I can, then I mean, it's a countrywide $100 billion or multi-billion dollar RICO case, and that's the civil side, right? I mean, if you want to, if we could actually get the legislatures and the lawyers involved, and the Department of Justice involved, we could legally go after these bankers, because they're not just stealing money from us. The thing about it is they're violating our rights. I mean, their actions are leading to the death of our children, to people like me becoming homeless in third world countries, to people committing suicide, to, I mean, all kinds of heinous things that are happening due to their actions that they are responsible for, because they're doing this all for money. So, I mean, we could possibly, if the law was followed, put these people in prison.
Of course. Or even better, put them to death, because this is all treason. This is all warring against the United States and its citizens.
Well, actually, if you follow the diamonds, if you put my third one up, you're going to find that's true.
Okay, let me pull that one up here. Actually, I don't know if Jen sent me that one yet, because we're still.
That's okay. That gets into a whole global issue that once you follow the money to the very top, you'll find that the family court system is just one arm of corruption of some very powerful people. I mean, along with the arms trade, or human trafficking around the world. I mean, the people at the very top that control this on an international level, they destroy entire countries, they destroy entire populations in order to make money by starting wars and destroying populations to then go in and rebuild them.
Right.
So that's a huge thing.
Right. No, absolutely it is. Where do you find, okay, so we know what you've said now, and we know that where is the starting point for any of this? And I mean, like, on a realistic level, like, where is the beginning of this fight? Like, where does the fight start?
You know, I like you and so many other advocates have been fighting this fight for, I mean, me, it's only a short amount of time. I've been fighting this fight for 3 years. But about 6 months, a year ago, I started legally going after the bankers. I started actually exposing this, what I'm showing you now.
Yeah.
I started exposing this on a public level in the state of Hawaii on large Facebook groups that had, 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. And I started exposing how these bankers are, essentially using their nonprofit organizations to buy politicians, who then create illegal laws to allow all this to happen. And I exposed all this on a very public scale. And all of a sudden, 6 months, a year ago, as soon as I started exposing this on a public scale, things started changing in the state of Hawaii. And now they're starting to change the laws. And now they're starting to, there's actual high-level public officials that are coming forward and exposing the corruption at these high-level trusts. And there's the people of Hawaii themselves are now starting to expose the corruption on different levels, like with voter fraud that's going on. So for me, where we start is with the community foundations and their CEO bankers and protesting them. And I'm sorry.
No,
Once again, I'm on the street in a
right.
South American country trying to very public scale.
All right, we brought in Jen here with you.
As I started exposing this on a public scale, things started changing in the state of Hawaii.
Jen, you've got lag on you, I believe. Yeah, it was you. So somehow we were on. Yeah, your speaker.
And now they're starting to.
Yeah, it's on you. Somehow it's your speakers coming back at us. So
for me, we start by going after the legally speaking, going after the bankers and the community foundations. We start exposing their corruption. And if you go to my fourth slide,
Jen just gave me that.
I show you step by step how to do that.
Okay, the fourth one is going to be this one here, the multi-trillion-dollar. I got the multi-trillion-dollar RICO one right here.
That's the worldwide scale. So that's the third one.
Okay, you want to view that one first here before we go to the last one there?
If you want to do that one, we can absolutely do that one.
Sure.
So if you continue up the food chain, if you continue up the flow of money, all these local community foundations on statewide levels, on county levels, on city levels, all that money is flowing up into the larger banking system, JP Morgan Chase, and the Federal Reserve System. And if you follow the money even higher, it's then flowing to an organization called the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, or Basel, Switzerland.
Okay.
And the Bank of International Settlement is an international bank for central banks. So it's a bank of banks. And what it is it's an unelected body of officials, of central bankers from around the world that then control the entire world's currency by majority vote. So I think you have 68 central banks that are a part of that organization. And so if, say, 20 of them vote that they need to distribute more money to, say, the reconstruction of country of Nigeria, the oil fields in Nigeria, then they can use the money from America and American bankers and redistribute American wealth through the World Bank and through the International Reconstruction, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and through other organizations, which they then distribute into the pockets of the billionaires that control the Bank of International Settlements, which are the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the billionaires of the World Economic Forum,
Yep.
such as Mark Benioff, who has, Mark Benioff, who has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the healthcare system of Hawaii.
Right.
But in that case, on a global level, they're essentially taking the wealth from America and redistributing it into third world countries' development, into their own pockets and into their own businesses, which is where the Rockefeller term generational wealth comes into play. It's not their generational wealth, it's our generational wealth that they're stealing and taking for themselves and then investing in third world countries, which I've seen with my own eyes as a humanitarian and a human rights activist traveling the world. And so that's why they don't care about us in family court. And that's
Right.
why they don't care about the 30 million Americans, because these people, they start wars in various countries and then they kill millions of people, and then they invest our money, American money, into their businesses in third world countries like Halliburton in Iraq back in the 90s, I think it was. So that way they can make money rebuilding other countries and rebuilding other societies. And so that's why they don't care about us. That's why they're not making changes, because
Right.
essentially family courts are just a group of people, a population that bankers look at like a number that they make money off of, and they could care less about our children, about our rights, about our Constitution.
Right. We don't fit
And
into
the
their
thing-
narrative.
Yeah, we don't fit into their narrative. They're just using us for money. They're just buying and selling our kids to the highest bidder.
Hmm. Hey, Jen, we just brought Jen in here. Let's see if her sound works right now.
Test 1, 2.
Yeah, all right, we're good. You're sounding good. All right. So, Jen, what says you about all of this?
Oh, I've got a couple of things to add. You were talking about the nonprofits and I call them tentaculars. Now that we know the structure, then that makes Health Connect America in Tennessee one of the tentacles, one of the arms. What is Health Connect America? It's the folks that DHHS sends you to for your psychological evaluation. And then, okay, so you go to them for the psych evaluation. Shouldn't it be a valid psychological evaluation that they're basing their determinations off of? Shouldn't it be complete, thorough, and follow the rules set forth by the American Psychological Association? Shouldn't it have all of the elements necessary to prove any nonsense that they putting down on that paper? Most of the time I've found in looking at other people's cases, they've been throwing out narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. You'll find if you audit these books, if you open up, you're going to find they just keep slapping that on there. But how do you diagnose a personality disorder? How does one arrive at that? One must do a personality test.
Mhm.
You go through the chart, you're going to find that none of these people have had a personality test done. It's just bank that label across it. So these are all fraudulent documents that they're basing their.
Which, if you go back to my my second graph that I was showing you, when you look at how they create these nonprofit organizations, they create them to make less than a certain amount per federal law. It's less than $750,000, and then these nonprofit organizations that do these psychological evaluations, they don't get audited because they're under the audit threshold for the money they make.
And how
so
do they
then
do that? Let's say they're making
They
multi-millions, right? You were talking about, they subdivide it into different departments.
They subdivide it into different departments or into different groups, or they just create different nonprofit organizations, and then they create internal policies and procedures. And I know this for a fact because I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for. I'm not a registered nurse anymore. I lost my. I let my license go when I left the country. Now I'm a nurse, but I have 10 years of registered nursing experience, and I almost finished my master's degree as a family nurse practitioner. And I worked for multiple medical organizations, and I worked for multiple mental health organizations, and I worked for even a maximum security prison as a mental health nurse. And so these organizations, they create internal policies and procedures that allow them to do whatever they want, that never get audited by the federal government. And so they never get audited by the IRS. They never get audited by HHS. So they just write whatever code they want, knowing they can get away with it, and write whatever internal policies and procedures they want, knowing that they can get away with it. But that's where we come in. That's where we expose the truth, and we follow the money, find the fraud, and hold them accountable.
When psych gets a referral, they're supposed to follow a standard protocol. You put in the chart the identifying information, name, date of birth, age, gender, date of evaluation, location, referral source, examiner's name, their license, the purpose of the evaluation. The referral question, determine whether the examinee meets diagnostic criteria for, and what are we looking for? Are we looking for depression, whatever we're going to use as the excuse for, we've got to get these kids out of this household. You have to have an informed consent section. The evaluator's they're supposed to document the evaluation, information about confidentiality, who's requesting the exam, who's going to receive the report, whether it's voluntary versus court ordered. And you have to document a full comprehension by the examinee that they understand that anything they say used against them. None of that is occurring during these psych evals.
Yeah, and
the referral question.
And if they don't sign that form, then they get held in, and if they don't sign that form, they're held in contempt of court, which is a violation of their rights, which is part of the internal policies and procedures of the court system and the hospital system in order to continue defrauding the federal government.
Yeah, it should say we are going to use anything you say to weaponize it only against you. Nothing you say will be used to support a finding of intact family preservation. But of course, none of that is stated. The referral question. Why is this evaluation being performed? Are we testing for competency, fitness for parental duties, determined disabilities, child custody, criminality, risk assessments, treatment planning, evaluations for different DSMs, all the different things that they have. There's thousands of diagnoses, and they can, tack this on and they can find something. They'll squeeze you into one of those codes.
Mm-hmm.
You will be squeezed into a code because nobody gets paid if they don't write a code. Find the code that we can use to make sure that we get paid. No code, no pay. You have to put on the billing form.
It's not just them getting paid. Once they do that, then your family gets destroyed. So then everybody else gets paid too. The CPS workers get paid. The courts get paid. Then the state gets paid because the family, let's just say it's a husband. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a husband or a wife. They lose custody, and then their ex goes on child support, so the state gets paid, and then they also need state aid through SNAP, so then the state gets paid again, and they also need cash assistance, so they get paid again. Then they also need to be sent to some other nonprofit organization for community assistance for clothing or for housing, so they get paid again. So that one misstep, that one piece of fraud makes hundreds of thousands of dollars for the state and for the nonprofit organizations through federal funding by defrauding the federal government.
Yeah. They're supposed to base their findings on the clinical interview, which will not go in your favor. There's nothing that you can provide. Hey, I was a former Girl Scout. Hey, I give 10% of my money to nonprofit charities that I have vetted and know. None of that matters. I volunteer ambulance for 4 years. They don't care how altruistic, how generous, how giving of your time, self-sacrifice. None of the positives
None of that matters.
none of that matters.
Yeah,
But
because they only care about the money. It's a system designed to take your money.
yep. And they will document what is congruent with the diagnosis. Oh, patient is non-compliant. No, I explained to you, I feel as though that I am under duress, coercion, intimidation, threats of retaliation if I don't sit in this room with you, and blah blah blah. So it's a loaded gun. These okay. You're supposed to look at previous their explanation for why the individual under the microscope might be protestive. Why are they like, not entirely quote cooperative, which is that term is just, it's incensing, not cooperative. You've forced them under a microscope. Where's the Third Amendment to that? Privacy. Third Amendment, privacy. And that doesn't just refer to your curtilage in your hat. It refers to of your mind. Now they're probing minds illegally.
So now
Look at their school
you've
records,
discovered what I've
employee
done. Yeah. So what I've done is I've turned the system back against them. And doing all these investigations, which you'll see in my fourth slide. As a registered nurse, as somebody who is part of the system, working for community health organizations with homeless street people and disadvantaged populations, I knew exactly what the system was. And so I took that information and I just did the same thing to them. And they don't like it when you do it to them.
No,
They're
no, they
supposed to consult previous psych if you've had any previous encounters with psych, and not just fish for what was the diagnosis. Actually see whether the tests were done. Were the appropriate tests done to arrive at a personality diagnosis? Were the personality tests done? The Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory, for example, is that in the chart? It's not. Look at any previous encounters with law enforcement, court records, employment records. What if you have letters of recommendation from people that you rode the ambulance with, and they're like, wow, this is medicine is really getting a champ here. None of the positives matter. Oh, this person is, a real credit to the industry that he or she is serving in, meticulously attentive to detail, blah, blah. All these positives, they do not factor in. What
and so here's the kicker.
False witness statements. Go ahead.
No, here's the kicker. If everything you're saying is true, which it is, if somebody does come to the courts and they have, a disability or they have a mental health condition, according to the American with Disabilities Act, they're actually supposed to get more time with their kids. They're actually supposed to get more help, and not like the bad help where they force you into some program that you don't need. Help that you actually want and help that you actually need. They're supposed to give you advocates who are supposed to go to court with you. They're supposed to give you more time with your kids so that way you can have more bonding time. So they're taking the law and they're bending it and they're breaking it on 1,000 different levels.
Here's another. They're supposed to go with witness statements, because how do you get corroborative data? Oh, this person, such and such, when they were a teen, they exhibited such and such. How do you get that? And except for interviewing other people, they aren't doing that. It's absent from the chart. You won't find the corroborative data to support diagnosis ABCD. Previous psychological testing.
And actually, the thing about that is, unless those statements are done in court, then it can't be admitted. Because it's just
right, and besides which, it's not admissible in court, right?
So
there's that.
I want to add this. Okay, so for my birthday, my sister sent me Debating the Constitution. So one of the very first statements that I read was, there will be no real change in the United States unless there is a civil war. So I think that it's coming to that.
I think education about the Constitution, if everyone knew by heart and carried around a copy of their Constitution and it were followed, we might have a fighting chance. It's very well written. It's if it were followed and it were, playing out the way it's supposed to. For example, you're supposed to get a grand jury indictment. before you get to the part where someone has kidnapped your kid, they have to prove that it is of necessity. And how do we do that? A grand jury is supposed to come whenever you're up against a what's it called? Infamous or capital or otherwise infamous crime. And Darren, you've pointed out accurately that this is the capital punishment equivalent. This is the family capital because they destroyed your family. They completely obliterated it and they made someone else's family. Social engineering. They have just stitched together a new family from your offspring. So because it is the psychological familial equivalent of the death penalty, this is a capital or otherwise infamous crime. Supposed to get a grand jury determination. Grand jury is supposed to evaluate everything and determine, has a crime even occurred here? Does the evidence that you have in your possession rise to the standard of, yeah, we need to move forward? Or is this nothing but a fishing expedition? Is it a witch hunt? Is it a means of securing funding? So they're skipping that. And I know you go into all this stuff with gunning for CPS and Article 3, Section 2, SCOTUS is supposed to be original jurisdiction where the state is arrayed against you, all this. There's just so much going on here. If we followed the Constitution, we might have a fighting chance, but it's going to take some really astute scholars. People are going to have to become obsessed with it. In elementary school, for example, they are introducing it in 3rd grade, little, things about. 4th, a little bit more. 5th, they had to memorize. They had to memorize the 10 provisions of the First Amendment. 5 provisions of the First Amendment, excuse me, and the remaining in the Bill of Rights. But it's going to take until children are more mature that they can wrap their heads around some of the stuff and it'll click and it'll stick. That's part of the problem, is the education is not designed to empower us. We've got this marvelous document. It's a 4-page document. And if we understood it, we would run with it. And then it would have to be followed. The prosecutor wouldn't be able to just go, that's not how we do things. You're not getting a jury trial. Bend over. It would have to be followed appropriately.
We actually have one of our good constituents that we have, and I know, Tiff, you heard this morning too. Actually, his son went to the family courts the other day, and they absolutely point blank, the judge told them that they do not use the Constitution in that court. The judge said it herself or himself. I'm not sure which one it was.
Oh, the Constitution? That's my toilet paper. They say they, Yep.
Which is all engineered. I mean, and we could talk about this for days on end. I've actually, that was part of my U.S. Supreme Court case. These judges, they swear an oath to the Constitution, not just the federal Constitution, but to their state Constitution, which is almost always a carbon copy of the federal Constitution.
And how much would it take to teach that? How much would it take to teach the children in school? What, 1-day session, a 3-hour day of going point by point to show them what their public officials are ascribing to, what they're signing on to, with oaths and bonds. With oaths and bonds, they're supposed to be bonded. They're supposed to have an insurance policy in the event that they harm somebody in the execution of their duties.
Which is actually state by state. Some states do that and some states don't.
No, I'm saying that they probably aren't. I can only speak.
No, I mean the bonds. Yeah, no, the bonds. No. Not all states require judges to and lawyers to have bonds.
Okay, we got to fix that. Because if I get in my car without insurance on it, I'm going down. They just jailed Chris Griffiths.
But in the state of New Hampshire, you don't need insurance. So not every state requires that either.
All right. So you got a few exceptions, but I'm sure the greater preponderance. What is it? 3 out of 50? The greater preponderance. I'll look it up right now. Which states don't require car insurance? It's travel. And I use the word travel and not drive for a reason. As of 2026, New Hampshire is the only U.S. state that does not generally require drivers to carry out. So it is like the common practice that universally 49 out of the 50 continental states, or 49 out of 50 states, they operate under their own financial responsibility in New Hampshire. But the remaining, the greater preponderance, the lion's share, everybody else requires it. How is it that I can't just go to Dollar General and pick up bread, but these judges can render the fullness of a civil death penalty. And then the children, have we talked about the children? What are they doing to the children when they're in somebody else's purview? Someone else is acting as their protector, their guardian. They're throwing them right into the wolf. I went for 9 years going, one of these days she's gonna, and she did it. She institutionalized one of the kids. Now what? Now we've got all sorts of diagnonsenses, and it's a whole nother it's another income stream for
Well,
the,
you know what they do? Because I had a friend that
they
worked in
program the
a
kids.
child facility. No, if their beds aren't full and they have kids in there, they just hit them with another diagnosis and tell the parents they need to stay a little bit longer. She quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was so
I'm sorry.
heart-wrenching.
I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to go soon, not because I
no.
want to leave, but because
Right.
it's
Well, you know what? When can you come back
I'm-
in? Daniel, when can you come back in? Let's lock down another episode here with you. Next week, what's a good day for you? And then we can prepare a little bit better. I know today was last minute, but what day next week do you think you'd be? We do Monday through Thursday. What day do you think would be a great day to lock in on this?
I don't even know what day it is. What day is it today?
Today is
Wednesday. It's pagan
Wednesday?
Gregorian Wednesday. It's also the
Yep.
23rd day of the third month.
Yeah, we can do it on Monday.
Monday. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that the most important thing is to go over the fourth slide, which is how we fight back. So
And the
maybe
fifth
next
slide.
episode.
Let's because I think that's the whole episode in itself, is it not? To talk about that, how we fight back. I mean, that should be, let's plan on that for Monday then. And let's call this one a day here for today, because there's a lot of information for people to suck in and just think about. And as always, guys, you can go back and rewatch the episode over and over, slow it down, put it in however you got to, because I think you should to catch some of this information. But Daniel, thank you so much for coming in today and doing this, and I look forward to Monday with you to talk about how we can fight back. That's going to be a great time.
I have a little bit more to
sounds
add
good.
after Daniel says his
Yep.
good nights.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just I am in South America and on a random street
Yeah.
in a random town that I just moved into, and the dogs are starting to bark and all the people are disappearing, and it's getting dark, and
Yes.
it's just not safe for me to be out by myself at the moment on the streets. So
Absolutely. Get into safety, friend. We'll see you very soon.
all right, talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Jenny, what do you got?
Okay, there's more, but wait, there's more. Remember, we're saying that psychological testing, every test administered needs to be listed, and the results, because when you enter into a situation where you're trying to rule in or rule out certain diagnoses, you develop what's called a differential diagnosis. What's a differential diagnosis? It's a list. In science, you want to explain phenomena. Why does the sun set there every day? Why do butterflies, need the dust on their wings? Why? You have a question that you want to determine whether or not maybe it's because of this, and you have to rule out different factors. Well, it's the same thing in medicine. These are sciences. Otolaryngology is the study of the
but now they're grouping it all
ears.
into the borderline personality disorders. Remember, we talked
They're
about
just
that.
throwing
Like
it
now
in.
they're just pulling it all together, so that it doesn't matter what way they got them. They've got it blocked. They've got you covered under that, and it's terrible.
But it lacks because it lacks. It's all malpractice. You don't see an MMPI in the chart. You're not going to see for intelligence testing. Did they do a WAIS?
Right.
Did they do the Stanford Binet? Did they do for achievement? Is there a RAT on there? WRAT. These are all acronyms. It's nowhere to be found. They're not doing the testing. I've been through it. I submitted to it. I used to help administer them, and I know they're long tests. Neuropsych, they're supposed to do a Stroop or a Wisconsin card sorting test. There's nothing on there. For trauma, a CAPS test. No, they just, in fact, they'll take third-party information, false third-party information, and they'll shove it in that chart so that it will withstand scrutiny. Where'd you get that information? They don't tell you where they got the information from, and they just shove it in there because it perhaps squeezes you into a particular diagnostic it squeezes one into a particular diagnostic category. For anxiety, is there a Beck on there? BECK is the name of the test. Is there a Beck? For autism, did they do an ADOS? Is it on the chart? Not so much. ADHD, there's supposed to be a Connors. For parenting, did they actually administer the parenting inventory? And let's say something does come up irregular. Let's say there is like a red flag or something. Does the fact that they are being coerced and threatened and their privacy is being violated and they just lost their job because you've just given them 6 different classes that they have to take in a certain time frame, and now they're moving in with mom, or they no longer have the picket fence. Does that explain the behavior that we're observing? Does the observer introduce that element?
They're the ones that
of
create these actions that people are. They're the ones that are taking substance abuse and making substance abuse more prevalent in the family environment. They're doing all of this stuff. It's all created by them. These homeless encampments, these are all created by them. I'm a firm believer that we're seeing these rise in the homeless encampments because these families just lose control. They just lose control. They go back into substance abuse. They go back. You revert as a person. When they take your children from you, you revert back to either your downfalls or your downside or whatever. A lot of people don't have the strength to maintain what they've accomplished in their life to become They don't have the strengths any longer to maintain that stuff, and they let it all go. And it's all because of them and what they've done.
Yeah, because they know the end of this road ends in I may not see my children again. I may not have a parental role again. My child may be destroyed as a result of this encounter.
Yep.
Yeah, and they are destroying children. They're not.
You're supposed to maintain the highest, level of involvement in society and work, and complete the same standards that you once were under, that you did complete fine and work. Like you worked 40 hours a week. You did this, you did that, you did all these things. But when you have those questions in your mind every day, I mean, it makes it almost impossible. I mean, I couldn't imagine going to work somewhere else and have to worry about where my kid is every 10 minutes like I do now. Like, where is that? It's like talking to people gives you that sort of soothingness, or or whatever. It makes you feel like you're helping. But put me in a wherever, I'm not going to name any names, but put me in a job just that I got to stand there and aimlessly talk to someone about something I don't really care about. Like, I'm not going to be a productive member of that company, because all I'm going to be thinking about is, oh, what about this person? What about this? How's my kid? Or this? Like, your mindset's just shot.
Does it introduces a something that could be classified as a disorder. It introduces an element that is just so,
it's so, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, it can be disabling. It could be imperiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can introduce an element of imperilment.
Yep.
Test validity. The testing, let's say they do have a test on the books. Was it administered properly, or was it administered in a busy McDonald's?
Yeah.
Okay, there's so much that goes into this, just like the rules of evidence in the courtroom itself. Was the person cooperative, or did they state clearly, look, you've got a figurative gun to my head. What am I supposed to do? And that is a natural response. Why wouldn't they indicate that this individual is exhibiting natural reactions to an unnatural scenario? It isn't simply not natural for someone to kidnap your kids and then say, you will dance, you will jump. How far? How high? Tell me which flaming hoop. I'll do that next. How much is it going to cost me? I'll sell the house. Whatever you want. That's my baby, right?
Yep. That's it. And then they do it, and they still don't give you them children back.
And what if the interpreter is biased? One of these psychological
Well, they're all in on the system, so of course they're all biased. Every one of them. They all want their paychecks. They want their paychecks, man. You know what I mean?
There might be a therapist out there that has a conscience, a heart, and the ability to put an end to the nonsense just by saying normal response.
Maybe not. Who knows? But at the end of the day, guess what they know? They know that all of a sudden that CPS is taking kids, that they've seen an influx at their job office. So keep them coming, CPS, because I'm going to have a good Christmas for my family. That's their mindset. So, of course, every one of
Well,
these organizations are biased. Every one of these corporations are biased. That any one of them that makes $1 off of CPS and taking your kids, every one of them are biased to the system because they now are a part of this economic machine that they've created. Of course, they want their jobs to keep coming. Of course, they want more
job
function.
security.
They want more doctors' visits. Of course, they want all of this stuff because it works in their favor, and that's just how humans work anyway. Sure, sorry for your misfortune, but I'm making a bunch of money right now, so sorry about that. Keep it coming. That's the way people operate. Period.
I took the opportunity in one of the clinical settings to pose this to the D. I said, so what are your thoughts about this whole industry? Do you regard it as a diabolical? And she said, you know what? I've found that where there's smoke, there's fire. And I asked her, what if there are people kindling a fire? What if there are adversarial elements kindling a fire? And she was not convinced that there are any good parents out there. Basically, everybody has a flaw, and it's her job to identify it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. No, it's not your job to identify flaws. It's your job to uphold your oath of office. These psychologists also have some kind of oath that they take. Physicians and PAs take the Hippocratic oath, do no harm. Psych has their own oath to first do no harm. It's not your job to peg somebody. That's not that's what you have to do to get paid.
Just analyze and fix, not point out. Tiff, what do you got?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't give a fuck about CPS, and I don't cooperate at all. They can all kiss my ass. And I told them that multiple times. And as far as psychiatrist goes, I will scare the fuck out of a psychiatrist. Do you hear me? The last one I talked to, she asked me as a juvenile, what do you want to be when you're an adult? I said, I want to be a hitman for the Greek mafia, and you're my first victim. She refused to see me anymore.
See, that's how you control the narrative. That's how you control it. All right,
I'm surprised
guys.
they didn't put psychotic or, pre-violent. I'm sure they.
No, they just buried that thing. They're like, we don't want to see that girl.
They said she's sociopathic, she's psychotic, she's this, that, and the third. Yeah. So then I'm looking at this shit and I say, you know what, bitch? I'm going to wear that shit proudly because I'm not all that. But since you think I am, yeah, that's why your ass don't want to see me again.
I'm going to try that next time. There'll be no next time. But all right, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jen, for coming in. Tiff, I'll talk to you very sooner than later. And then everybody else, we'll see you guys here tomorrow, same time, same place. And Daniel will be back on next Monday. So that'll be exciting. Make sure you guys tune back in.
Daniel and Daniel, yeah.
Daniel will be here on Monday, same time. All right, guys. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thoughts don't care, ghosts in my head, thoughts that tear. F941239, branded on my file before I was 5 years clear. They all said the same shit. Better not tell, kid, it'll get way worse in here. Even the real kids whispering threats while their parents steer. Born in a folder, no crib, just a case number and a hearing date. Pills crushed in my juice, whispered away. Turning toddlers into a court case. F943 anxiety, F90 poison, separation ink they used to label me. Now those same codes turned into calibers, letters load the AR-15. 5156 for the panic attacks, 9 for the snakes, 223 for the mess they made. Leave me alone. This is perfect Christian home. Still feel your husband's hands on my neck. Leave me alone, night shift worker, keys rattling while you're proud of heart. Leave me alone, caseworker with the crocodile tears. You got paid while I starved through it all. Starved through it all. We the invisibles, aged out the system. No feelings left, just facts and mathematics. Hypervigilant, heart rate flat, rifle fluent, pistol fully automatic. Grown now, pulling up, packing. Only lesson we kept is right from wrong. Now wrong, getting corrected. 30 round hymns in a real dark song. Stealing from mama, think reunification real. Level 2, bounce like trash. Learning roles in every house, they make you feel. Level 3, chameleon bag, never unpacked. Visible, just enough to read. Level gray, master, read a lie in the blink. Route around rules in the street. Level 5, invisible state. On ghost file, too thick for any worker to read. Sleeping fragments, exits mapped. Made it out so low, they know you a different breed. We the invisibles, age of the system. No feelings left, just facts and mathematics. Hypervigilant, heart rate flat. Rifle fluent, pistol fully automatic. Grown now, pulling up, packing. Only lesson we kept is right from wrong. Now wrong, get it corrected. 30 round hymns in a real dark song. F94 through a 5 pop 6. F93 to a full auto switch. F94 to reactive. That's why the AR twitch. 9 millis for the snakes that smile in your face. 223s for the nights they said this hurts me more. While they finish the chase. Every code they roll, every caliber, every lobby came around. Every better not tell turned into a reason. We outside right now. Seen kids get walked out the back at 3 a.m. Staff pockets fat, no sound. One phone call, file closed, another invisible. Never found. They pray we don't D-lock forever or read the barrel in despair. But the ones who survive remember every smell, every room, every stare. Thoughts are gone, thoughts aren't care. Ghost in my head, thoughts that tear. Way the invisible. Age down, fully loaded. No fear, strapped heavy, heart on zero. Just a pulse and a plan. Right from wrong is all we know. And wrong fit to meet the whole fam. Pulling up quiet, windows down. 30 round lullaby. Invoice for every tear. Every touch, every read better not tell. This is the correction. Pred's gone dead. 2, 2, 3, good night.
We know it's all about the money, we know they lie, we know this is corruption. Does CPS know what they are doing to the children?